can start officially.
Okay, it's done. We're
Welcome,
live.
welcome everyone to the Dose of Togetherness. We're going live on video right now, and I'm just kidding. This is only for you guys in the room, and then if anyone who gets to see this later will just be lucky, including you who want to watch it again. But thank you so much for being here today for the special Dose of Togetherness. The Dose of Togetherness, as you know, is a project that we started in collaboration with our friends at the Greater Good Science Center at UC Berkeley to try to provide space for people in this challenging time to come together and reflect on things that really matter most and build a sense of togetherness amidst the anxiety, the fear, the illness, and the death that is really swirling all around our culture these days. So yes, I'm Brad Wolf, the founder and executive director of Reimagine. And for those of you who don't know, Reimagine is an organization that is founded to try to transform the narrative in this country around some of the hardest things we face: serious illness, dying, death, grief, but really doing it in a way that we emphasize how we might face those things, and in so doing, celebrate our lives and the people who matter most, as well as exploring issues around inequity and the injustice that we face at the end of life, but all the way through life. And hopefully by exploring those things and unearthing them, we can move forward together in more positive ways as one community. So it's really a pleasure to be here today with someone who will end up speaking to some of those themes with a real firsthand knowledge. And I'm excited to introduce Peggy in a few minutes. But I want to first share a couple of things just to remind each of you, if you are looking for support, if you know someone who has died or someone who needs a memorial service but doesn't have access to the funds to do so, we have created the virtual memorialguide.org as a way to provide support and tips and tricks and templates for how to host such a memorial. So please share that with anyone that might need that. And then I also want to let you know that we have a really exciting program this Thursday, our virtual vigil at 5 p.m. on Thursday. This week, on the 9th, is the 6-month anniversary of the first death from COVID back in January 9th in Wuhan, the first reported death. And the 9th of this month also reflects the 1-month anniversary of the funeral of George Floyd. And so joining us will be our board member, BJ Miller, who has really faced his own end-of-life experience, but then has used that to catapult his own thinking and beliefs and really trajectory around how to make a difference in end-of-life care. And he's really an incredible speaker who gave a keynote at TED. He'll be joined by my friend Leon Ford, who was shot 5 times at the age of 19 by the Pittsburgh police, wrongly stopped, and through racial profiling was then shot and is now wheelchair bound at the age of 27. But his attitude is really, he has a heart of gold, and him and BJ are going to be in a conversation together, which is going to be beautiful. And then we have one of our favorite pastors, Corey Kennard from Detroit, Michigan, who's going to be leading a non-denominational service where if you bring your candle, you can explore these themes with us and hold space to honor those that have been lost in the last 6 months, and just be with us in the grief and love that we all feel in our hearts. So look forward to seeing you on Thursday. And then also a quick reminder that tonight is we have the Art Responder series at 5 p.m. with Brooklyn Raga Massive, who creates music for violin music based in South Indian culture, and they're going to do a live performance and talk about how their work explores these themes and how they've been able to respond to these themes through art. So we look forward to seeing you tonight as well. Big shout out to all of our sponsors. As you know, Reimagine is a nonprofit organization that only is able to persist because of our incredible supporters, including you out there. You've really made these events free and possible. So thank you again for your continued support. And yes, it could not be possible, of course, without this lovely face. Thank you, Dara. Dara, there you are. All right, there's that. Are you wearing the same shirt? we can't differentiate Dara from her photo. But what she's telling us here, I'll paraphrase, Dara, what you're saying. You're saying share comments, ask questions by pushing this chat button. So you already figured that out. And please keep your cameras on if possible. It's great to see your smiling faces. And turn your mics on when we get to the breakout rooms at the end. And of course, as you know, the breakout rooms are really a big part of the highlight of what we're doing together. So when you have an opportunity, if you're calling in and you need to unmute yourself, you can push *6 once we get to the breakout rooms. And if you have any questions whatsoever, you can email hello@letsreimagine.org, and we will be happy to assist you with any technical support you may need. Without further ado, as you know, we begin these sessions with a meditation, and today we have Teresa Young, our incredible colleague, to help ground us. So Teresa, take it away.
Thank you, Brad. Wonderful to see everyone, and really excited to have Peggy here. So today we're going to be working at an interesting intersection of mindfulness and inequality. So it can feel a little bit like a difficult intersection or a little sticky, and so usually when that comes up, it's an open invitation to kind of summon up our courage and bravery and openness and go there. So go ahead and, as always, find yourself comfortable and just allow the awareness to begin gathering with the breath. Allow the breath to kind of capture your awareness. And if it feels good, you can close your eyes. And as we close our two eyes down to the outer world, a lot of these beautiful colors and shapes and experiences that do a great job at pulling our attention away, what we do is we close those eyes and then we open up this inner eye of our own experience, starting to understand our own inner landscape, starting to kind of open up that middle ear space to all the sounds around us, to all the things ongoing. And you can just start deepening and lengthening your breath on both sides. And observe any thoughts that are present, any to-dos, any fidgeting, and kind of just take a moment and assure yourself that all those will be there after this couple of minutes. So you can rest assured and just take safety in this current pause, this refuge of this current moment. And just opening up our inquiry and exploration today with a poem by Nikki Scott B. Jones, who's a really wonderful justice doula. As you kind of listen to the words, just allowing your awareness to observe the felt sensations in the body. So together we will create brave space, because there is no such thing as a safe space. We exist in the real world. We all carry scars, and we all have caused wounds in this space. We seek to turn down the volume of the outside world and amplify voices that fight to be heard elsewhere. We call each other to more truth and love, starting somewhere, continuing to grow, and examining what we think we know. It will not always be perfect, not always what we wish for, but it will always be brave space together. Just allowing your awareness to observe the sensations in your body. We recognize that we always start within ourselves, the ability to examine ourselves, feelings, thoughts, biases. What responses do we have to inequality, to injustice, to privilege? We kind of sink in a little deeper by bringing these felt experiences to our awareness, bringing these up to surface. What arises with these words? What was the felt sense of experiencing inequality, understanding injustice, diving into privilege? What are the scars and the wounds that we all carry around it? We have had inflicted upon us and inflicted upon others. Just allowing your awareness to find what arises in the body. Perhaps breathing into the feeling that arises, any tightening in the belly, any tightening in the mind. Breathing into any resisting or perhaps any closing of the heart. And just recognizing where these responses sit. Perhaps it closes with defensiveness, or perhaps we even reject it out of a desire for wanting to see the world in another way. Perhaps a heaviness exists in the body if we feel helpless or sad. Maybe a quickening in our heart out of fear. Maybe not wanting to do the wrong thing or say the wrong thing. So just meeting ourselves wherever we are in this moment. Tracing in ourselves where our body holds on to these responses and beliefs. Perhaps now just narrowing in on one sensation that arises. Allowing the mind to settle in on one place in the body that's pulling at our attention. And just notice here with that sensation, what belief we might hold. Is there a belief that you're not safe, that the world isn't safe? Maybe it's a belief of powerlessness, perhaps a question of own self-worth and guilt, fear. Just noticing what feelings come up in the body. Becoming a little bit more familiar with their own inner landscape around inequality, injustice, and privilege. Now maybe taking a moment, and if it feels right, you can take a hand and maybe place it on your heart or whatever place in the body that you're feeling this. Meeting it with tenderness and love, and asking for a moment, what's needed at this moment? Perhaps the acknowledgement and presence, just sitting with it. No need to do, but just feeling. Seeing that when we can arrive to these places within ourselves that might carry wounds or sadness, that when we meet that within ourselves, this automatic sense of compassion arises. So just taking this moment to really rest in the care of your own heart. Taking this moment to really listen to the wisdom. And sensing what happens when you become present. What shifts. And so we start to come back in this place where we have allowed presence to bring us evolution and transformation. It's widening awareness of our own felt experience and compassion, our own ability to really give care and to nurture. Starting to return to your breath, to this now space, to this current moment, feeling your body, feeling ease, feeling warmth, feeling your own heart center. And wonderful to sit at this intersection of mindfulness and equality with you. Thank you for taking that journey. Namaste.
Thank you, Teresa. Thank you for setting up such a truly a brave space for each of us to explore these themes. It's great to see you here. So with that, I'm very excited and honored to introduce our next featured speaker, Peggy Maguire. So Peggy is the president of the Cambia Health Foundation, where she works with a wide range of stakeholders to drive healthcare transformation that really results in better experiences for people and families. And when I say that, I mean all types of people and families from all backgrounds. And under Peggy's leadership, the foundation has evolved from really a regional grant-making organization to being able to become a purposeful investor in solutions that advance palliative care leadership, quality, access, and understanding, really chiefly through this program that you should check out that's incredible called the Sojourns program, which is their signature program. And I've had the opportunity to see Peggy speak at the Endwell conference, which is a fantastic conference in San Francisco. And it's just really an honor to have you with us today. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for inviting me. And thank you for that lovely guided meditation. What a nice way to spend our time together. You know, I find myself thinking quite a bit about social justice issues these days. And as I reflect on my own background, I think in part social justice has become part of my DNA. So my great-grandmother was one of the first women attorneys in Illinois. And I remember where I grew up in Chicago. And one of my great aunts had a bumper sticker on her car that said, "If you want peace, work for justice." And that really influenced me as a young child. And eventually I went to law school. And now I find myself working in healthcare, where at Cambia, as Brad said, and at the Cambia Health Foundation, where everything that we do is centered around our cause, which we believe is stronger than a mission statement. It's really our purpose and our reason for being. And that is to serve as a catalyst to make healthcare more person-focused and economically sustainable. In recent days, I've been thinking that our cause is really also a cause and a cry for social justice in healthcare. Because to have a healthcare system that is truly transformed, it has to be inclusive of all people. And we have to be able to address health equity and racism in our institutions of healthcare, including healthcare. Over the last 5 years, our Cambia Health Foundation has invested quite a lot of money to promote health equity and to reduce disparities. But our recent experience as a country and as a global community with COVID has shown us that we have a lot more work to do in the United States. COVID, as you know, has disproportionately impacted communities of color at an astonishing rate. The disease has given rise to social and economic turmoil, put millions of people out of work, and also exposed racism in our institutions. And really, I would say racism in healthcare, racism in general, is a public health crisis that must be addressed. So I went back, one of my favorite and most inspirational speakers is Martin Luther King Jr. And back in 1966, he said, of all the forms of injustice, injustice in healthcare is the most shocking and inhumane. And I think in the last few months, we have seen that play out with the coronavirus. We know we can and we must do better. And creating access to healthcare that is person-focused, economically sustainable, and inclusive, I think is one of the most pressing social justice issues of our time. We have to move forward with a deep sense of compassion, of humility and commitment to learning and unlearning and doing what is necessary for truly systemic change to occur. In my opinion, health disparities that we're seeing are not inevitable, but they're a symptom of a broken healthcare system and of inequities in other parts of our society. For me, this reality is a turning point. It's a call to action for all of us to be more curious, to lean in, to see what we can do to advance justice in our institutions, including healthcare. But as I think about this on kind of 3 levels, and so I'll give you 3 levels of questions here. What can we do as individuals to examine our own relationship to privilege and to bias and to disparities? What can we do to change the institutions that we're part of? So at the Cambia Health Foundation, for example, which, you know, I'm really honored to lead that organization, we are engaging with the Center for Equity and Inclusion to help us take a look at the way we do business, our policies, our procedures, our practices, our vendors, you know, soup to nuts. We're looking at how do we put actions to our intentions to be a more diverse and inclusive organization. And then the third level of question I have is, how do we influence the broader community outside of our own institutions? So really it starts with each of us as individuals, then moves out a little layer to our organizations, and then thinking out from there, how do we influence those around us outside of our institutions? And for me, that, you know, that really goes to my work. A lot of my work has been in palliative care. And so how do I work with the palliative care community to ensure that these disparities with serious illness care and end-of-life care issues are addressed? And you know, it will take all of us working together and stumbling a bit, if you will, but be giving each other grace to stumble and to learn and to move forward to really make change. There are 2 more quotes. I'm full of quotes this morning, but another one's from Martin Luther King, Jr., who said, "Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others?" And so I ask myself that question. And I also ask a question from Hamilton, more recent. But there's at the end of Hamilton, Eliza Hamilton is singing the kind of the final song, and she says, "When my time is up, have I done enough?" So I think about that a lot. Is, you know, each of us have a given time on the planet. We have the ability to choose in how we spend that time, and we want it to be meaningful. And so I think about that, you know, as I move forward, how will I reflect back on my journey? And so, Brad, this reminds me of something you said in the opening, is that really thinking about these issues about serious illness and end of life really help us think about how we want to live and what it means to live well, what it means to live with meaning and purpose. And so when I think about when my time is up, I'll ask myself, have I done enough to influence change and to promote justice in healthcare, in life and in death. We're going to move into now some breakout sessions. The prompt is one that was shared with me a few weeks ago by Dr. Steve Pantelet at UCSF. And it really led to a very productive and interesting set of conversations. But in our breakout groups, we'd ask you to just share a couple of things. My heart and my hope. That's it. So what is your heart telling you at this time, and what is your hope? And I don't have any further direction. Maybe Brad or Dara, you have directions here.
Well, first of all, thank you so much, Peggy, for those words and for drawing attention to the fact that we do have this limited time, and that reflecting on it, we all have these choices we make with our time, and to show up here and to be able to listen to what you're sharing with us, I think, at least for me, and I'm sure I speak for others, gives us, the boost that we need to keep moving forward in our own lives as we pursue some of the challenges that you presented, and how to make an impact in the face of those, and live a fulfilling life. And I think I'm excited about these prompts, and I'm going to talk about that in one sec, but just a quick background information for folks. Most of you know how this is about to go, but we're going to go into breakout groups in a second, and whoever's wearing the brightest shirt, you'll be the moderator. And if you don't want to be the moderator, you can always pass to the person with the next brightest shirt. We're going to practice active listening, so one person's going to answer those beautiful prompts. And then if you're finished, you can chat as a group or try asking each other another great question. We'll be sharing you a broadcast message when to return to the main group. And if you want to exchange contact information at the end, you're welcome to do so. Many people do, but there's no pressure to do anything. You can use the chat to communicate with one another. And if you have a problem, you can always come back to the main room by exiting, or you can email us. And then, of course, our 4 guidelines: just keep the conversations confidential. Share your story, but don't offer unsolicited advice or judgments. Anyone, you always have the right to pass. And then if you can keep your responses to about 3 minutes per person to make space for others, that would be fantastic. And that gets us back to these really thoughtful and open-ended questions that we have today. And I'm excited to hear what happens in your groups. I think what's interesting here is when we talk about healthcare, it's kind of the origins of some of your questions here. I think sometimes we forget as a culture that these questions are so tied into that, and we often leave our hearts out of the equation, when really this is all about the heart. And so to ground it back into the heart, where these questions really live and reside, around social justice, around healthcare, around equity, I just am grateful that we have this opportunity to explore them in groups. So Dara, without further ado, do you want to whisk us away into the broad?
Sheila Merle had a few questions for Peggy, and I'm wondering if Peggy can take a moment to answer them before we get whisked. Is that okay?
Sure. If that's good time for the breakout groups, that sounds good.
Okay. Yeah, I think if and we could also, she could write it into the chat, but so Peggy, the questions were.
I can see the chat.
Oh, great. Okay.
Yeah. So, in case anybody can't see them, the 3 questions were, if you think about it, what can I do as an individual to change? So what do I need to learn and unlearn about myself? So start at the individual level. Then the next level out is, what can I do within my organization to inspire change or to create change? And the third is, at the next level, is, what can I do outside of my organization and to influence change? So for me, that means change in the healthcare system. So really starting with myself and then building out to my organization and then going outside of my organization. And I don't have those written down anywhere except in my notes for this talk. And the doctor that I mentioned at UCSF is Dr. Steve Pantelet, who directs the palliative care work at UCSF.
Fabulous. Thank you, Sheila Morrill, for those questions. And now it will be written down. So we have now inscribed that into perpetuity on Slack. Sorry, Slack. That's where I spend all my days. In our chat. I guess those are the two places I spend my time. Dara, whisk us to the broad corners of the internet, and then